folks, we're back at the PDAC 2019, and I'm very, very happy to have with me another guest with me, Mr. Byron King of the Gold Speculator. Thank you so much, Byron, for being on the show today.
Thank you, Sonny. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So, first day, let's get started here. So, it's very interesting to see your commentary, and one of the things you mentioned, I read upon about a few months ago. You talked about, the gold sector where, you basically painted a picture where you said the world is consuming the entire reserve space of Newmont mining every year. The world has to create an equivalent of Newmont every year. And that's pretty much what, in terms of paraphrasing what you said. So, what did you mean by this?
Well, when you add up all the gold that's mined, it's not just the equivalent of what gold Newmont produces. It's the whole Newmont company, all of its holdings everywhere across the globe. And that is the equivalent of what comes to the surface every year. And it gets refined into gold, it gets poured into bars and coins, and people put it in their safe or they bury it in the backyard or whatever they do with it. But how do you replace that?
Right.
And that's a rhetorical question, because the answer is, well, so far you don't, because nobody is. It's just not happening. And so the global resource base of gold every year is shrinking.
So it continues to shrink every year.
Pretty much.
Yeah, because I guess what have we seen from the industry to kind of address this problem? You're not seeing as many new discoveries, maybe, for example. But what are some of your takes on that?
Well, I do see in a very positive way. I see industry moving towards more and more technology. The mining industry is traditionally an industry that's rooted deeply in the past. A lot of old mining guys are like, oh, we don't have to do that. We've been doing it this way for 100 years. Yeah, and that's your problem, pal. But I mean, you're starting to see, much more remote sensing in terms of exploration, big data analysis, artificial intelligence, some of the new advances in material science, in chemistry, ways of getting the percentages of recovery up, out there at the, in the tailings piles, in the metallurgical side of the mills, more efficiency within the mills, driving that cost of production down, or at least putting a cap on it.
Right.
The industry has been blessed for several years by low and at least stable oil prices. Right. Remember when oil prices were booming up to 80, 100, 110, 120 bucks a barrel? I mean,
very difficult.
It's hard to run those bulldozers and those heavy machines on $120 barrel oil. So the industry has been doing everything it can to squeeze efficiency out. In terms of finding the big gold, people have been looking all over the place to find the big gold, and guess what? They're not finding it. And so but we're looking near the surface. You're going to have to go deeper because there is gold. It just happens to be deeper. The crust of the earth is this series of random geological events.
Right.
If you want consistency and if you want some level of predictability, you've got to go deep. But deep is expensive, deep is dangerous, deep is hard.
Yeah, so deep, or even being in very remote locations to find these new discoveries.
Well,
right? That takes a level of risk as well, right? But they can be very, very rewarding once that happens.
You have to look at the jurisdictions very carefully. There are places that are splendid geological areas, but they're horrible political jurisdictions. I mean, I'm not trying to disrespect anybody or their culture or anything else. Just there are just places that you don't want to put one dime of investment because you might not see it back. Funny thing about investors that I've learned over the years, when they put money into they want their money back.
Interesting. So to step aside now, what's your take on the current mining sector? The current markets of mining equities. We've seen a lot of M&A activity that's been occurring over the last several months. I mean, we saw a lot last year too, in the way of strategic investments, so to speak. But just this year, some mega, merger mania pretty much in the last few months. So, what is your take on that? Is this good for the sector, or are we learning it from what we did last time, where we were growing for the sake of ounces? Like, is this accretive?
Well, there's a whole bunch of questions there. A couple of approaches to this. Number one, I was having dinner the other day with a chief financial officer for a gold company that everybody would know its name, and I said, he's been doing this for 30 years, and I said, how's business? Nice open-ended question. And he said, this is the worst market I've ever seen in 30 years.
Interesting.
And I can't wait to get to work every morning. And I said, I said, tell me more. And he said, it's times like this when there is so much out there and it is so cheap. This is when a smart management team can assemble the building blocks of the next great move when the wheel turns, and the wheel is going to turn.
Interesting.
So the market might look terrible by lots of metrics, by lots of
Right.
optics. You might look at this and say, why would I ever want to be part of this? And I'll share a secret with you. I'll share a secret with the people who are watching this. Just don't tell anybody. I write a newsletter. There are mornings when I sit down at the desk and I look at the screen and I think, why am I doing this? When even the newsletter writers are saying, why am I doing this? You might be at a bottom. So, hold that thought.
Interesting.
At the other end of the spectrum, you have the big elephants.
Yeah.
You got that big guy. We're going on marriage.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of it seems to be ego-driven.
Yeah.
A lot of it seems to be, we have people with boundary issues. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to stop. They don't know what to not say.
Right.
And I don't think it is a good reflection on the overall industry for people on the outside.
Yes, we'll see.
That's why, you know, it's so important when you're looking at a gold company
Yeah.
at any size, at any level.
Yeah.
You want to look at the management team. Do they know what they're doing? You know, I look at the jurisdiction. How's the jurisdiction?
Yeah.
You know, we're going to put money in, or we're going to get money back.
Right.
You know, look at the management team. Do they know what they're doing? Have they been to is this their first rodeo? The famous question. You know.
Right.
You know, you got to look at the assets. I mean, you're looking for the best assets that you can possibly find in a favorable jurisdiction with a really strong management team who know how to move things along.
Right.
You know, not just sort of shuffle along and just kind of, well, it'll happen when it happens. No,
Right.
it'll happen when you make it happen.
Absolutely.
Because you're making it happen fast and you are crisp and you are efficient in your execution. That's what you want to see. And this room in PDAC here is filled with a lot of those nice management teams, you know, and it's I think that's why the guy was saying that it's a tough market, but he can't wait to get to work every morning.
Right. And what are some lessons that you've learned in terms of investing in the junior space? You know, what are some things that say, you know what, I have to look at this every time before I look at a junior. Or, I'm not going to do that again, you know?
Oh man, there are a lot of those lessons. I should write one of those books like Bob Moriarty just did. You have to feel comfortable with the management team.
Right.
You know, I mean, there are people who I just don't talk to anymore because they said the wrong thing to me at the wrong time. You know, they as in like they lied to me and I didn't like that. I didn't appreciate that.
Yeah.
There are. I'm always looking at the geology. I mean, you know, the better the geology, the better the project.
Right.
But again, you know, jurisdiction, management. You're looking at past successes. You're looking at this sense of execution. And like I use the word crisp. You know, you want crisp execution. You want capital discipline in terms of spending. You want smart spending. I mean, I talk about expensive money and cheap money.
Right.
Cheap money is send geologists out there to do the mapping that hasn't been done.
Right.
Cheap money is do the geochemistry that hasn't been done. Cheap money is geophysics. I mean, you can fly an airplane with a song
Right.
behind it. You can gather a lot of information in a hurry for not a lot of money. Beats the heck out of just going out there, drill. You know, I'm going to take my whole treasury and I'm going to put it into holes in the ground. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but you know that's
Right.
expensive money. What have you really learned? If you didn't, what is your model? I want to see the model, and then I want to see how your drilling confirms the model. And if it didn't confirm the model, what was wrong with the model? How are you going to fix it? The rocks are what they are. They're not going to lie to you.
Right.
The rocks are the few things in this world that actually tell you the truth.
Right.
So I mean, I want to be. I like to think that the ultimate form of courtesy, the highest form of courtesy, is to be honest with people and to tell them the truth. The rocks always tell you the truth.
Right.
So they better agree with your model or tell me why you need to fix your model. How are you going to fix your model?
Interesting, excellent tips. So let's step aside. Now let's talk about you being in the U.S. as a U.S. citizen. You know, with all the things that have been going on around the world, U.S. trade war. You know, we can go on and on. But as a U.S. citizen, you know, how do people see or view gold as an investment or as a safe haven, or even silver? What is your take on that?
Well, as someone who is heavily focused in the gold sector, in the gold industry, my view of the rest of America, vast percentage, you know, pick a number, 90%, they don't get gold at all. They don't have a clue. Most Americans were born after 1963 when the silver left the coinage. Most Americans think that, you know, money is those little green things with pictures of George Washington and whatever. There is a true lack of understanding of gold, and in fact a disdain of gold. It's a lack of understanding in most people, and it's a disdain among the academic elite economists, including.
And what's your outlook overall on the mining sector then, for the rest of the year?
Well, my outlook for the mining sector is positive. I mean, I'm going to just kind of talk the book here, but it's a sincere talking the book.
Okay.
I think there are great companies out here with really great people, folk who show up to work every day and they love their job. They love what they're doing. They're highly professional. They take great pride in it. They want to build the best company they can build. They want to dig the best mine they can dig. They want to process as much ore as they can. I mean, from the corporate suites on down. But there is an element of the mining industry that really wants to make it work. They want to produce useful products that the world needs. I mean, this thing is an iPhone. It's an Apple iPhone. Free ad for iPhones. Out of 92 elements in the periodic table, 63 of those elements are inside this device.
Yeah.
And none of them by accident.
Yeah, exactly.
The rare earths, the copper, the silver, the silicon, the boron, it's the hafnium. It's all in there.
Yeah.
It's all in there for a reason, and it all came out of the earth. If it didn't come out of the earth, well, perhaps you plucked it off of a tree or something. But even that, it came out of the earth too.
Yeah.
So
it's positive, and you're bullish.
my outlook is positive, and I'm bullish. But like Ronald Reagan used to say about the nuclear weapons, trust but verify. Trust but verify. Keep an eye on these guys.
Well, thank you so much, Byron. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Byron.
Thank you.
If you want to find out more information about Byron King and his newsletter and his work with Jim Rickards on the Gold Speculator, we'll have a description below with all the contact information and the URL, and you can contact Byron directly. And he also has a Twitter handle. Is there anything else you want to add in terms of reaching how investors can reach you?
AgoraFinancial.com.
There you go.
It's the Rickards Gold Speculator with Byron King. I work with Jim Rickards, an international economist who really understands all of the ins and outs of what goes on in the Federal Reserve. So he's the big macro guy, and I sort of work with him to try to find the great mining ideas that'll follow up behind the big bold prediction.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Byron. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Talk to you next time.
And thank you for watching.